Live from Radio Lebanon 96.2 FM, this is Script to Screen with host Alan Mehanna.
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Script to Screen here on Radio Lebanon 96.2 FM. As usual, I'm your host, Alan Mehanna, and we've got a really cool special episode for you here today on the second episode of the second season of Script to Screen this year. The title of the episode is Rebels with a Crew, and it's because we have really very a vibrant duo of filmmakers here in Lebanon, in the studio here with us, Tariq Keblaoui and Ayman Makarem. Ayman is a screenwriter and Tariq is a filmmaker. They both worked on a brand new short film that they're kind of currently still sort of working on in post-production. The short film is called Hmar / The Donkey. You may have seen posts about it all over social media, especially because of their Kickstarter campaign that they did, which is something that we'll definitely discuss a little later, because the whole crowdfunding for filmmakers in Lebanon is still kind of a news subject, although it shouldn't be. But before we get too carried away, let's go ahead and give you guys the floor and start by introducing yourself to our listeners and talking about how you got into cinema, how you got into the film industry, and take it from there.
Cool. I guess I'll go first?
Yeah, whichever, guys.
So I'm Tariq Keblaoui, Lebanese filmmaker, 24 years old. I started film. I got into film, or got interested in film at a very young age, around 14, when I started learning photography on my own. And I also started to learn how to make stop motions on my own. That's how I kind of first got into motion picture, I guess. And I eventually went on to doing a workshop in NYFA at the age of 16 to work on 16 millimeter film. Continued doing film as a side hobby, made a film or two. Eventually went to Chicago, where I studied cinematography. And then I graduated from London, where I studied Central Film School with Ayman Makarem, who's by my side.
Nice.
Yeah, we've known each other for a lot longer than that. But to start off with my backstory, to use a phrase we're all familiar with, it's a lot less linear. I've always just generally been interested in writing. I never really grew up with much of an interest in film. But I think it was around the age of 20, I was studying psychology and I sort of was burnt out. Didn't really care for it too much. And Tariq tells me about a film school in London, Central Film School, which sort of has a BA in screenwriting. And I saw that as a continuation of my interest in writing in general. And I had just started getting interested in sort of real cinema, because I'd grown up with very mainstream kind of shallow cinema, which is just for entertainment value. And then,
he's raising a point though that I pulled him into film because he was writing a feature film called Manifesto, which is still currently in the works.
Yeah.
Which I was extremely impressed by. Not to blow your horn, but so I just knew that I wanted to work with him, and now here we are.
That's awesome. So you said that there's a much longer, like you guys had known each other longer than just meeting at the film school.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So how did that?
So he went to ACS.
Okay.
ACS Lebanon. I went to IC.
Okay.
We had older brothers who knew each other, and they kind of introduced us to each other. And then we became friends. We're kind of nerdy kids. We video games and playing at the net cafe. And
the story I usually tell is that I didn't have too many friends growing up, and when my brother went to your house to see your brother, my mother said, take your younger brother with you. And my brother obviously didn't want to hang out with his younger brother, but and then when I got there, my brother's friend has a brother my age, got along, and we've been friends ever since.
Well, this is kind of a like the idea of this duet of teams, or like this coupling of a filmmaker and a writer, or like a filmmaker and a composer. Mm-hmm. We see this all the time in the industry. It's like these just two minds meet, and then you kind of just work on this continuing working on similar projects together. Spielberg has this. Other directors have their core team. Do you see this kind of relationship kind of heading towards future works and the future as you guys grow as filmmakers and writers?
Yeah, definitely. We're already kind of working towards our next project, which is hopefully will be a feature film like in the next 3 years. Can't say too much about it, but we definitely are. We really think alike. We have very similar. Like it's like, we have same principles, and we share some principles. We share some interests in films and music, and
it all started. I mean, originally the first great filmmaker that he got me into actually was Kubrick, which I know is still a big inspiration for you. No, it was the kind of thing of that, like, compared to everything else I had seen before, it was a great thing. And we'd sit there and discuss what we just watched. And then, so we kept watching films and showing them to each other. And sometimes it would sort of independently, but simultaneously, we'd discover certain things, even with music or with film. I remember... Separately,
but like together.
Exactly. Yeah, okay. I remember once telling him, you have to listen to this guy. And I was 16 and I put on Walk the Line by Johnny Cash. And he had wanted to show me someone else at the same time. And as soon as I started playing it, he freaked out and he said, "Oh my God, I was going to show you that exact same song." Or it was just Johnny Cash in general.
Or Johnny Cash.
Yeah. A true meeting of the minds then.
Yeah.
Sort of. When it comes to like, this is kind of, this is really interesting because then it kind of will flow into a very interesting question before we start talking about your short. Mm-hmm. What is it that you kind of, as a filmmaker, what is it that you look for in a writer? Since you said that you just like the way that, you like the way that he thinks or whatever, his vision. So what is it exactly that you look for in a writer as a filmmaker, as a director?
I guess what I look for in a writer and in writing, in film writing, is to have a film that is to have stories that...
Could you bring the mic a little closer?
Yes, sure.
Cool.
So I guess it's hard to really describe. I really don't know what stories I really lean towards, but I know what films have moved me in the past, and I know what films, the similarities in the films that have moved me in the past. Films that like Doctor Strangelove, Further Back, Somewhere Closer, The Fall, all these sorts. I don't really know. I wouldn't know how to answer that question, actually. How would you?
Usually the pattern that I see in the films that we both enjoyed and the stories that we both enjoyed is that they're usually very entertaining and very... the craft is always very taut and very strong, but at the same time, it's always got a very strong thematic message. It's always... There's always we're usually attracted to auteurs, people that sort of... It's not pure entertainment value. There is the artist in the work, and... So usually that's something that we both look for, and it's usually the first thing that I notice when I'm watching something. I sort of think like, what is this really saying? Like, it's very well shot. Maybe some things are very nice, but then it's sort of ultimately kind of flat because there's nothing.
I mean, definitely there has to be depth to it.
Yeah, right.
There's always depth behind the writing.
Right.
It's like some sort of social criticism, critique, or it's some like a critique on the human condition, or a critique on like global politics or some in a sense.
Do you find as both of you, this is a question that goes out to both of you, do you find that there should be a balance of like an entertainment value and a theme, or is it more or like an ideology, or are you more to lean towards full ideology and let go of the entertainment factor?
I personally think a film should pull in the audience. It should pull in audiences. It needs, if you want to communicate a message, it's not just about me trying to preach what I want to preach. It's about showing a convincing story that is enjoyable to watch because it sustains your interest throughout the film. It has characters that you can relate to, whether you kind of can laugh at them to relate to them, or if they really resonate with your principles and decision making. So yeah, I think a film definitely has to pull you in. It has to be entertainingly funny, or it has to be really get you at the edge of your seat, or it has to be visually stunning. All in all, you have to use every aspect of the craft in filmmaking through sound design, cinematography, the overarching narrative, and even performances to really, make audiences want what they didn't know they want.
I'm blanking on his name, but I recently watched a few films by a British director, something Anderson.
Films did you make?
Paul Thomas Anderson?
No,
Wes Anderson?
much older than them. He made a film with. I'm completely blanking on all their names. Actually, even the actor, the guy who acts in The Clockwork Orange, he acts with in a film called Yes Man, and in If, and the third of that trilogy, which is called Britannia Hospital. It's pure ideology. It's like left-wing propaganda. It's almost like The Morning Star made into a film.
Okay.
And it's just excruciating because what he's saying is quite interesting. And if you can bother to care to, and I agree with him, and that's exactly what we've been talking about for years now, which is people don't want to be preached to.
Right.
And so some of these things, art should sort of lend its hand for people to, some filmmakers are very uncompromising and they don't really care if you're on board with them. But what I think is the best of films are these that sort of combine, entertainment value and interest, but also have something to say. But if you're missing one of them, then it's...
Yeah, I definitely think it's a symbiotic relationship. Like you need one to be able to get to the other. And, when you lose one, you tend to either have a shallow film if it's just pure entertainment, or you tend to have something that is, mind-bogglingly, I don't know, like too heavy or too preachy or whatever. So Hmar, the donkey. Mm-hmm. Tell us about it. How did the idea come forth? What was the inspiration behind it? Before we start talking more technical and production stuff.
I guess I have to pass that to Ayman.
Yeah, let's talk about the development process. How on earth did you come up with this concept?
Originally, when I was in London, I'd frequent an antique shop next to my house, and you just find a lot of gems there, a lot of old postcards written from the early 20th century. Weird language. Oh, they always talk about the weather for some reason. It seems like it's always been a topic of discussion for the British. But no, and then they'd always sell like books for £1 or £2, and you get some really great stuff. And one of the books I got was 1001 Arabian Nights. Mm-hmm. It was a Penguin Classics publication. And I don't know. And I picked it up and I started reading through it. And one of the stories just struck me as being, it wasn't even a story. It was 2 pages. It was called The Donkey. And it's essentially a joke. It's one of these nicknames, just like very short, very quick, just a punchline. But I don't know. I read a lot into it. It was actually quite allegoric when I read it. I could see a lot of today's political tragedies, let's call them that, in the story of essentially an innocent donkey being sort of mistaken. I don't know. It's sort of. I don't know. I don't want to get too much into it.
Don't give too much of the narrative away.
Sorry.
So essentially the inspiration was that you read that and then it kind of got you to start brainstorming.
Basically, the premise is adapted from it. The premise is, that there's a man who loses his donkey to 2 con men. Won't say any more than there. But the rest of the story from then on is completely original.
Yeah, of course. No, it was originally 2 pages, so I had to expand it quite a bit and then add a lot of stuff to make it a film. Mm-hmm. Because as I said at first, it was essentially just a joke.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the idea to set it in the time period that it's set with.
So that came very far not very far, but that came like 5 months after he started writing the script or past that. Originally, actually, he was writing this as his graduation short film script in London, and he was going to set it in the UK. And I just came up from finishing my last film, which was like a Viking film called Home Gang.
Okay.
And he showed me the script. He seemed nervous about showing it to me. He showed it to me. I read it. And I eventually convinced him that I want to take this script and make it in Lebanon.
Okay.
So originally, actually, it was going to be set in 19th century Lebanon. It was going to be set in a Durze village in the mountains. But then we decided to go against showing any modern religion because we were worried about having any connotations with any, it's not a critique on any specific religion or on religions, but it has, there's faith in the film. Mm-hmm. So then after like 2 months and a half of trying to get around this problem of trying to sort out how to go around the whole Dirze thing, we're sitting down, we're on Skype. He was in London, I was here. We're talking. And then I kind of just threw out like, why don't we just choose an era where the religions just didn't exist? Or these kind of religions exist. And Ayman's like, the Phoenician era?
Yeah, it was a joke at first.
Yeah. And then it was like,
Yeah, why not? We started looking into it, and then it really just.
No, you get that. It was like a weight off our shoulders. Just wait. Yeah, why not? Why not just finish an era? And then we realized there are no actual complications to making a Phoenician, and so
the whole story fit.
No complications ideologically.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Because I was gonna say complications production wise. Those are completely different complications. And this is really funny because my master's thesis for screenwriting is a Phoenician feature film.
Oh, really?
It's set in Phoenician era. And every time I look at it and I read through it, I'm like, this is going to be the movie that I'm never going to make because of the budget that is required. And then, every once in a while, I fiddle with it. I go back, I change a few scenes, whatever. And then I just remember looking through my Facebook and then seeing a post by Lugène, and I'm like, oh, Hmar, Phoenician era, Phoenician, what? Come on. I'm like, so that was kind of refreshing to see that at least, I mean, on a short film level, that somebody was actually going forth and doing it regardless. Did that idea of how much is this going to cost us ever cross your minds when you were writing it?
It did. But I think I came with this kind of confidence, maybe this naive confidence, but after my last short film, because my last one was also a period piece. It was a Viking.
Yeah, I was going to say, do we have a new period piece director on our hands here?
Don't know.
Is this kind of going to be your stylistic choice?
I don't know. I hope not. It's very stressful, but it's stressful on the budget. But I don't know. I came off of this Viking film where we also had to make all the costumes. We had to make the shields. We had to get a fight choreographer. There was real life.
Did you shoot this here? Or?
In London.
In London.
It was shot in London. It's online. It's available online. It's called Home Gang.
Cool.
So I came off of that with this confidence that, we can do things if we really just spend a whole lot of obsessive amount of time, finding the right people who also can spend an obsessive amount of time doing what they do. So we ended up so we ventured forth. We eventually came into the kind hands of René Sebaï, our art director, who within 2 to 3 months created all the costumes for very cheap. She made the cart. She made a whole lot of things for the film. She made the carving. She designed the carvings in the film. There's carvings of the gods
in the temple, right?
In the temple, exactly,
the temple scene.
In the shrine. So everything was handmade by her and her two assistants.
That's crazy.
Yeah, there's just literally just fabrics that she put together. We spent an excessive amount of time researching different references, different things in books of what Phoenicians used to wear, which is very vague because
yes,
it's extremely vague.
I was just about to say, I went through this too when I was writing my feature, and I was like, there really isn't a lot of record as to what,
exactly.
There's hearsay, there's what the Greeks thought, what the Romans thought, and then there's like what historians believe was but there's no actual foundation for, for a writer or for a, director to go off of for their vision. So you're kind of free in this area.
Yeah, because Phoenicians didn't even consider themselves Phoenicians. They were called Phoenicians because the Greeks, I think the word phony, if I'm correct, is the word for red, and the Phoenicians used to export red dyed and purple dyed clothes, and they were called the Phoenicians because of that. But really, they were just Canaanites, Canaanites were also, I guess, the Roman interpretation of the people in the region. But it's very vague. So there's a lot of left up to interpretation, as well as with the Viking era film. There's just so much,
Yeah, but I mean, when you say Viking, you kind of have an idea, like even in, because you have an idea. Say Phoenician, you go, I don't know what they look like. I have no idea. Could they, so this is, I mean, it's a pro and a con at the same time, because you can kind of have, artistic freedom to kind of build off as much as you want. But at the same time, you don't want to go off, you have no blueprint as to what to go off of. So you kind of jumped into the art direction with René, who we just gave a shout out to. What was the step before that though? Like when did you, how many drafts in did you guys realize that you were like, okay, we're going to do this. Let's, let's start actually pre-production and.
Yeah, I think it was like draft number 7.
Yeah, 7 or 8.
7 or 8. It was, so basically in terms of months, it was from November when I decided to take on this project. He already had like 3 drafts down.
Okay.
And from November in March is when we decided to make it Phoenician.
Okay.
And then about a month later, we were like, okay, we're going to start going into production, and we started slow.
Okay.
Lujane, our producer, who's in the studio right now, joined us very early on as well. I think April, and she did a fantastic job helping us, find our plan for, going to finding the right locations, which she found immediately, finding actors, every actor that we thought we wanted, we ended up getting thanks to her. I was very happy with the cast, and I think they're going to be happy with the project when they see it. And yeah, basically started baby steps. So we started with location finding, and then we
and finding your crew, and then finding Lujane and all of them. Were they prior contacts that you had before, or prior friends?
So half of the crew actually are my friends from London. Most of the technical crew, so the camera team, sound team, like the continuity, and half of the AD team.
You shipped them all from London?
Yeah.
Yikes. Okay.
Yeah. Yes, we did.
I normally don't think budget, but my brain is just throwing out like, Lord,
They helped out. And we did we chose the cheapest flights. We actually chose the shooting dates based on the cheapest tickets we could get for that.
Pegasus Airlines.
Guerrilla filmmaking at its finest, man. Mm-hmm. That's insane.
Yeah. And half of them we already knew. Very lovely people. They're just this huge family of filmmakers that we're just going to be working on. I go and I'm a camera op for them sometimes because I have a cinematography background, and they come and they do stuff for me too. So yeah, and the rest we found here through Lutma, the Facebook page.
Yes,
it was very helpful. We found our AD there, Vanessa. Ramis. Sorry, I was mispronounced that. Ramis, Vanessa Issa, our makeup artist. As I said, Rina, and a few others, all found in Lutma.
Cool. And then, so how long did pre-production take before you actually started shooting? And
so, let's say pre-production started as soon as we considered Phoenician. Let's say it was March.
Okay.
So we started shooting in September, 15th September. So
wow. Okay. Of 2017.
Yeah. So it was all in 1 year. So all in all, from the beginning, from when Ayman first picked up the book and got inspired to write it, until we started shooting was 1 whole year.
Okay.
One whole year.
Okay. And then how long did shooting take?
Shooting was 5 days with a break in between. We spent 4 days up in Ihden, which was a very difficult location to shoot in, but it's a lovely location.
Yes.
The people in the Ihden Reserve are really super lovely people. They let us shoot up there for free. Beautiful landscapes, 360 view, no telephone poles. The road looks.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the things I commented to Lejane because I didn't have contact, your contact info, so I couldn't necessarily tell you. One of the things I did comment on was how visually convincing it all was. Like visually, the film looks great. It really looks great. And now, hearing that this was all handmade and this was all, not like, bought from a prop store or whatever. You just did a lot of, classical true filmmaking, when you go in and you actually, it's all handmade stuff, handcrafted stuff, costumes, designs on the wall, etc. It makes it so much, it raises the bar for production value even more because it's, and it's not that easy to find a location with telephone poles and wires, and it's Lebanon. It's like you can't do that.
Yeah. The roads were so rocky. It was really difficult to get the crew up there actually. Yeah. So it did pose a lot of challenges. And also up there's a fog that would come in at least twice a day.
Yes.
But luckily enough for us, it always came at lunch break. Oh, so it was so nice.
The film gods were on your side.
Yeah, I was almost convinced of that at that point. But the fog would come in because after a really hot day of standing in the sun all day, the fog would come in and be sitting in this nice, comforting fog, and then it would go away as soon as the camera set up. It was on our side for most of it.
What was the work dynamic like during production? Was your crew a large crew, a minimal crew?
It was quite a big crew, actually.
Quite a big crew.
We were 30.
Wow, that is a big number.
So we had like a full camera team, camera up, first AC, second AC. We had 2 sound guys. We had 3 people in the AD department. We had a production manager. We had like 3 people in the art directorial department. We had, of course, Lejane. We had a writer there who poses a runner as well. He had to do a lot of running. Thank you for the project for us. And we had a few runners. And yeah, I think who am I missing? Like continuity and stuff. So we had a big crew. Yeah, and we had a lot of people who we really trust to be specialized in the roles they were specialized at.
Good. I mean, that's a very important thing.
Yeah, exactly. And because we work with them so often, we work with each other so often. Sorry, we communicate extremely well, and we know how to stick to our roles. And you know, like when the focus puller is on the focus puller, he's just always on that lens, and he's always always by the camera's side. And everybody is just They were fantastic, really. It's like a big family of people.
Switching over back to Ayman here just a little bit. You said there was a total of how many drafts?
Total 10.
Total of 10 drafts.
Yeah.
What is your writing process like? So like from draft to draft, what is kind of that process that you go through? Because I know some writers kind of go a whole way through, finish off, and then kind of rewrite or take different opinions, kind of read it out loud, maybe bounce their ideas off of someone. What is kind of your rewriting process like? Is it more of a me, myself, and I kind of a thing with the script, or is it more of I'll share a few things here and there just to see, or do you go to a script doctor, or what's that process like for you?
Oh, no. Well, so first, I always think it's important just to rush through the first draft.
Yeah.
Let me get started. Just to sort of rush through it. Just get it all on page so that it's there.
Mm-hmm. The vomit draft.
Exactly. And then I sort of avoid it for a few days because then I sort of want to forget what just happened. And then when I go back to it, I can read it from a sort of objective perspective. I usually try and pass it around quite a bit. And there are a few people, I mean, I showed it to him. Yeah, it took me a few months to show it to him because I was a little nervous. Didn't know what he would think of it. But then I was doing a course called Writing and Pitching. And I pitched that story like 1,000 times. It was unbelievable. I just kept talking about it and saying to people. And what would happen is if I tell somebody the story and they react and I get the reactions I'm expecting them, then I know that beat works, and so I'd keep giving it to people and getting it back. And usually what I try and do is get enough feedback so that the next draft sort of there's a good fundamental, like a radical change, that and then I don't know, I'm not going to talk as though I know what the best way is because I'm still trying to figure out myself. But what seems to help most is to just be with the story as long as possible, just keep it on my mind. And so every time I leave the house and I do something, there's always that, it's there in the back of my head. And when I start forgetting about it, I keep trying to remind myself. And
are you more of a character-driven or plot-driven kind of writer?
I'm not sure, but I do prefer a character-driven because
stuff.
I think if there's anything you remember, when you think back on a film that you watched 5 years ago, you don't really remember all the plot twists and everything that happens. We remember the characters. They stick with you, exactly.
And the character beats and what they went through, and
exactly. And some of the best films and TVs are the things that stick with you the most is just you feel like you know the people and they stick with you and they sort of teach you things about life. And I don't know. I mean, a lot of my upbringing was through sort of television. And if you hear this accent, I never lived in the United States, but it comes from watching episode after episode of Seinfeld and episode after episode after, I don't know, and just constantly watching TV. And so, George Costanza became kind of a mentor in a weird way, but exactly. And I don't really remember each episode, but I remember the characters. And
right.
Yeah, I think the thing that I've developed is sort of a healthy obsession of like keeping the story in my mind at all times so that, because you never know. I think it was Camus that said that, genius can come through a swinging door. You just walking into a store and, oh my God, that's brilliant. And then, you go home and write it, or keep a notebook with you at all times so you can keep writing it. Because worst thing is when you come up with a great idea
and have
then you
no way
home,
to record it. Yeah,
and you go home, you should go, wait, what did I just remember? That was brilliant. And then it's gone.
Guys, quick question. This, 2017, I think we're all in agreement here that 2017 was not a very positive cinematic year. There were a lot of terrible films in 2017. And I feel like towards the end of 2017 was where we started seeing some of the more stronger films coming out strategically just in time for the Oscars, so that they're in people's minds right before the Oscar nominations, which I believe is next week. the week after, the 23rd of January, whenever that day is. What do you think is currently lacking in cinema, whether it be globally or maybe even in Lebanon, since you both have kind of relocated back here? Where do you think we have the biggest lacks in your humble opinions?
Humble opinions, yeah. Would you like to start, Ayman? Go for it.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's because there's so much out there, and what I really thrilled at having in London, which doesn't really exist too much here. We had a place actually in London we'd go to, which was an independent cinema / DVD rental place / cafe called The Close Up, and they had like 19,000 films. It was insane, and it sort of you really get a grasp of, because people have this thing. I mean, we mentioned the Oscars, so there's all the categories of best film and best actor and everything, and then there's best foreign film, but that encompasses most of the world,
right?
And so, I don't know, when I think of the better films of 2017, I think Ulrich Seidel, an Austrian filmmaker, made a film called Safari that was quite interesting. Kurosmaki made Another Side of Hope, which is a bit disappointing, but it was all right, and it's better than most of the American things I've seen. But ultimately, I don't know. So it's sort of, I think first it's important to make the distinction between, I don't know, different areas, different regions where filmmaking is made. Yeah.
But what do you think, from maybe even from a writer's perspective, what do you think that differentiates these two? Like people from, like whether it be let's say, for lack of a better term, let's say like non-Hollywood films or non-American films versus films that are from different countries. What is it about those films from the different countries that is stronger or that is more engaging? Or is it resting down to the storyline? Is it resting down to the script? Is it more technical? What is it that makes them stronger than, or more engaging to you than the American films that you saw in 2017 or didn't see?
I'm actually really not sure. I mean, I could just very blandly blame money, because whenever there's a lot of money in something, it usually seems to corrupt it.
Okay.
And it seems to be much harder to have an actual burgeoning independent scene.
Okay. So it goes back to this concept of the auteur, which you guys are very huge fans of, I believe.
Yeah, I think we are.
No, exactly. I mean, the golden era of cinema that I think we both subscribe to is the sort of independent era of American cinema. Okay. When you had Coppola and you had Kubrick and you had, these people that are self-producing and sort of didn't have a studio on board.
Right.
But because, if you know that you're going to have to sell a certain amount of tickets and distribute it to a certain amount of theaters, then you do have to sell a bit of artistic integrity to reach that, which I'm not blaming these people for it, because
right.
Yeah. And when you think about it, like en masse, not everybody is a movie critic. En masse people are, they just want to go to the movies, get a big bucket of popcorn and have a good time. So I think like big studios are very aware of this, so they don't spend maybe as much time and money into the script or into the working out, making it a cinematic masterpiece. They just want to make sure it ends up making them a buck. So they have to spend the right money in marketing campaign. They have to get the right faces, the right cast to make sure that, they get the right following. So I think the problem, I suppose, with big studios is that they prioritize, they prioritize just trying to reach as opposed to quality. So it's, make as much money as you can as opposed to making it a standout film. I don't think they're even interested in that. And
I think it's actually, there's the same problem in publishing. It's much harder nowadays to be to have your first novel published than it was before. And you notice that it's very easy to tell if you walk into any big, I mean, in the US, they're Barnes & Noble, but here, I guess Antoine is a good example. If you walk in, they're all bestsellers,
Right.
That they want to publish something that they know they can sell 1 million copies. And then the actual bookstores would only want to stock books that are bestsellers. They know everyone wants to buy it, but they won't risk. I mean, maybe if it's some niche academic critique and an essay or something, maybe they get 1 or 2 copies, but they're not going to stock it up.
No, absolutely. I definitely can, definitely on with you on that, considering my poetry book's been held out from being put into Librairie Antoine for the past, I don't know how many months, which I totally get you.
So,
totally get you.
That,
yeah. So it's funny you hit on the publishing thing, and over here I'm going, yup. Totally understand.
So where the dilemma comes up with us is that we're filmmakers as well, and we eventually want to make films, but we also have quite a devotion to the craft of filmmaking. It's really the most important thing to us, the craft of storytelling and actually saying something that has a meaning or that can hopefully stand in history. So hopefully, but then there are the compromises we have to make, of course, which we're going to have to make further down the line. Now we made a short film. It's completely independent. It's funded mostly by us and our family and our friends and crowdfunding. So, we have that liberty now to say what we want to say, however we want to say it. But I guess we'll have to see further down the line our first-hand experience of how we had to sacrifice a bit of our
it's not I've had sort of, they haven't been extremes, but dealing with the first producer that I dealt with writing the short film, and then now having to collaborate with another on another project, I'm learning to kind of balance out where to make sure that my creativity or artistry as a writer doesn't completely, so I don't feel like I'm selling my soul. When I'm working on it, try to at least convince the other person, or try to get them on
your side,
my perspective on where I see the story going, etc. So it's really a balancing act. It's not that easy. Speaking of crowdfunding, I know I wanted to kind of delve into that real quick before our final segment of the show. Crowdfunding isn't that popular here in Lebanon, but it's such a huge avenue for filmmakers globally. You got your Kickstarter, you got your Indiegogo, and you guys used Kickstarter. Did you use it for? Was your Kickstarter campaign like a two-parter? Because I know a lot of people do two of them, like one before production and then one for post or whatever. Or was yours mostly the one that was released
that's the only one
a month ago? Or
for this project, the only Kickstarter we ran was the one for post-production.
Okay. And
we just needed it because we basically needed the last stretch to be able to afford a proper sound design and a proper color grade and a proper music score and VFX. It was our main campaign. But I think one unfortunate thing actually is that Kickstarter isn't exactly available in our country.
Correct.
I don't know if you know.
Correct.
So I had to use my brother to host it because he has a bank account in the US. So that's one big reason. And out of all the crowdfunding websites out there, Kickstarter really is the most popular, and it is the most well-maintained. It's the most trustworthy source. And I think a big reason why online crowdfunding might not be so popular here is because most people here, especially let's say the older generation, aren't fully warmed up to the internet yet, and they aren't fully warmed up to putting their credit card number on the internet.
Very true.
So a lot of our friends actually handed us cash, which is very cute, very sweet friends.
You're that's great, but if I don't meet my goal on Kickstarter, that's going to be a problem. I won't get my money.
It's an all or nothing thing. That's true. Yeah.
Well, I do have to congratulate you guys, because you did meet your goal.
Yeah, we did.
You did meet your goal.
We met our second goal, actually.
Definitely got a ping when that happened on my phone. Because I don't know if she told, I was one of your, I did fund.
Yeah, you did. Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Really.
So, that was exciting. When I saw that ping, I was like, yes, they made it. That's kind of cool. But yeah, I really hope eventually down the line, crowdfunding kind of opens up here in the MENA region, because it does really help. There's Zumal, but Zumal doesn't.
Exactly.
I tried it at one point. I fiddled around with it.
Yeah.
Nobody really is using it for films, and
it's
the
true.
few films that are on there, you feel like, ooh,
I was considering putting Hmar on there at first, but their interface doesn't feel fully updated.
No.
You can only really upload low resolution photos.
Yeah.
Nobody knows about it, and if I posted a Zoomla post, nobody would know. No. Unfortunately, at the moment, what it is. Hopefully, they gain reach. That'd be very nice for everyone. But yeah, unfortunately, we had to go to Kickstarter because it's just a better website.
And your page is very well handled too. All the very informative, and the wording and the video is fun and entertaining to watch as well. Guys, this is the rapid fire segment. Quick questions, quick answers, that sort of thing. Very spontaneous. I have 10 questions here. So do your best to answer them as quickly as possible. We still got the last 10 minutes. It's the final stretch, the final act, the denouement of our radio show here today. So the first question, instead of asking my guests what their favorite film is, because that's become a very predictable and cliched question, I've kind of enhanced that question a little bit and instead ask, what is the film that you would defend for all time?
The Discreet Charmer of the Bourgeoisie by Louis Buñuel.
Okay.
It was the first film I watched that was just awe-inspiring. I saw it and I sort of, in the first shot, I saw their faces, their bourgeois faces, and I thought, oh, brilliant. And I was stuck with it the whole way through. And I've had people, it's a surreal film, and I've had a lot of people watching, so I go, I don't really get it.
I don't get it,
yeah. Yeah.
So what's happening?
Yeah. But I'm so convicted. Yeah.
Mine would be Dr. Strangelove. It's a film that got me into filmmaking. It's the film that it really changed my life. And without that bias aside, it genuinely is a fantastically well-made film. Yeah. It's a fantastic story. But yeah, that's
all right.
My answer.
Question number 2: if your life could be defined as a film, what film would it be?
I don't want to be pretentious. Okay, it might come across as a pretentious answer, but Birdman, I think.
Okay.
I relate to that guy. I relate to everything that's wrong with him.
Okay. All right.
Oh my God, that's a tough one. My film could be defined by a film?
No, if your life could be defined as a film. You couldn't define a film by a film. It's
weird.
It's a weird. Yeah.
No, that was Charlie Chaplin's The Kid.
Okay.
Or The Tramp, or any of them.
Any of the Charlie Chaplin films.
Actually, no. So scratch that. Annie Hall.
Woody Allen.
I've been compared to Woody Allen just
all the time.
Oh my God. Yeah. No. Now that you say it, yep, I can. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. That's
self-deprecating and all that.
Alrighty. Number 3. What is a line of dialogue from a film that you will never forget?
You can't fight in here. There's the war room. Anyway, that's Dr. Strangelove.
Well, actually, the first one comes to mind is, frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
Well done. Yes. Gone with the Wind. And then yours was from Dr. Strangelove?
Dr. Strangelove, yeah.
Okay. Number 4. Which Lebanese actor would you most love to work with if you have not worked with them yet? Male or female? Doesn't matter. If you know of any. If you don't, then just throw in a global actor.
I would love to work with Mohammed Akil again.
Okay.
He's a lovely man. He played Abdeshmoon on Hmar. Lovely guy, honestly. Lovely guy to bits. I would definitely want to work with him again and just, make a film for him, really.
Okay. That's excellent. That's a good answer. Could I take his answer?
Yeah, sure. You can do it. Since
all the other actors that I really love are dead.
Oh, God. So, that's slightly morbid.
Yeah.
All right. So that was number 4. Okay. So number 5. This is a fun one. I love this question. Which global actor would you like to have portray you in your life film?
People say I look like Daniel Craig. I don't know if I'd like him to play me.
I mean, height and blonde, and I don't know if he could play you.
I don't know. Yeah, no. Who would play me? I don't know, Ayman. Do you have any idea? Woody Allen?
No, for me.
Yeah, for you.
Oh, no. Definitely Javier Bardem.
Oh, definitely.
I thought that. My grandma thinks I look like Matt Damon, though. When she watches A Good Will Hunting, she's like, Ayman, looks exactly like you.
Yeah, maybe in Matt Damon. I mean, maybe in Matt Damon. Maybe in Good Will Hunting.
Yeah.
With the blonde,
or how about this? Macaulay Culkin.
Yes, I could see that. I see that.
I don't know. You'd have to tell me for my answer. I don't know.
For you, who's the guy in 500 Days of Summer? Oh, no. What was it?
Oh,
Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Yeah, I always thought he kind of looks like him. No one ever agrees with me.
All right.
Maybe.
Number 6. Which global director would you love to work with?
Dead or alive.
Global director?
Yeah. What's his name?
You would love to work with?
Yeah. Can I bring him back from the dead?
No, they have to be alive.
I keep forgetting his name. It's Jude something. The guy who directed Afarim. This Romanian guy. What's his name? Jude.
I never remember his name, actually.
I can never remember his name. It's a simple name, but I would love to work with him. Afarim is a film. He's a Romanian director. He's kind of big now, actually.
Okay.
He's really climbing up the ranks. He won a few awards at Berlin Film Festival.
Oh, okay, cool.
Big guy.
I would say something like...
Radu Jude.
Cool.
Someone that's alive now.
I mean, if you're totally blanking, just bring him back from the dead.
No, there is one now that I always really like his style. Ulrich Seidel. He's an Austrian filmmaker, and he's really delves deep into the Austrian psyche, and I like that.
Number 7. If you could have studied any other field than your profession, what would it have been?
Astrophysics, for sure.
That's a headache and a half.
Astrophysics or quantum physics, but quantum physics will lead to unemployment and poverty.
No, but that's the thing. I mean, I would have picked philosophy, but like screenwriting's bad enough.
Yeah, okay. Fair enough. Okay. Number 8. If you could meet anyone from the industry for a cup of coffee and a good old-fashioned conversation, who would it be? And I'll open that up to dead or alive.
Oh, okay. Oh, Charlie Chaplin. I love that guy. No, like he's the uncle I never had. He's the guy like just constantly cracking jokes, but also like a really sweethearted guy. Mm-hmm. I hear anecdotes that he might have like hit his wife. No, I'm not gonna bring it up. Let's not do that.
This is an apolitical show. Let's just keep it there.
Let's not go there.
But from his films, I think I would love to sit down with him and just.
And alive?
You would like to be the Coen brothers, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Oh no! Actually, you know what? Matt Stone and Trey Parker from South Park. The guys.
Yeah,
such cool guys.
Okay,
yes. Cool. Okay.
I would with Roger Deakins, the DOP.
Yes.
I would love to shadow him, just watch him do his thing.
Dude, Blade Runner 2049.
Yeah.
What Beautiful. An eyegasm.
Beautiful.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 9. What would you like to have people say about you after you are long gone? May that day be very, very, very far away.
Oh my.
Ayman who?
Also morbid. Yeah. What is the matter with you? What is the matter with you?
He's very self-deprecating. Say about me or my films? Me.
But just you as a whole. The whole entire package of filmmaker Tariq Keblaoui.
Oh man, that's a big question. I'd hope they say I like his films, or I hope they'd say something along the lines of his films moved me.
Okay,
that's a stretch, cheesy answer, but you know.
No, I mean it's legit. It's cool as long as they don't go Keblaoui. You know, his films Keblaoui me away.
Yeah, that's gonna happen all my life.
Yep.
Family jokes.
And then Ayman, are you sticking with Ayman who?
No. Oh, I don't know. I mean, yeah, something along the lines of my favorite people in life have always been teachers, have always been people, humanists, this sort of thing. So, I don't know. I learned a thing or two from that guy.
Okay. And then final question, and make it quick because we are running short, which is a tough question. I mean, okay. What piece of advice would you give to new filmmakers in Lebanon?
Try all fields in all roles in the field. Try everything. Okay. Try sound, try camera, do it, and, just do it the best you can.
I'll tell them an anecdote. The writer of Juno was while she was writing the script of Juno, which again everyone knows became huge. I think it won the Academy Award and everything. While she was writing it, she was an exotic dancer. She would dance at night and go home and write. And so, no matter what situation you are, you can always just write, and you can always never put yourself down.
Ayman who? Guys, I want to thank you so much for being part of the show with me today. It was a pleasure meeting you guys and talking to you guys. Our listeners, you can join us again next week for a brand new episode of Script to Screen. You can catch us on YouTube and Rami and Apple Podcasts. My handle on Instagram is @Mehanna official. Tariq, yours is?
My Instagram is Kibsby.
Kibsby.
Kibsbi.
And Ayman doesn't have one, so we're just going to end it there. Thank you for listening in. We'll see you again next week. Have a good one.